Alright guys, so we are going to have our test on Monday. Make sure that you study. Make sure you get a parent signature. You will be permitted to use your purple integer rule card on the test. I will have it projected on the big screen for you. So watch the video. If you have questions, you can send me a note on Classroom, or you can come in tomorrow on Monday morning at 7:45 and we can review anything that you're not sure about. So what I want to do is I'm going to talk you through all of these problems so you can check your work and go from there and what you need to study and what you feel confident. Make sure that you know this vocabulary. So an integer less than 0, you can tell me is a negative, or you can tell me a negative integer. 4 regions separated by the axes on a coordinate plane are called a quadrant. And if you recall, we talked about when you number the quadrants, think about a clock. So here is 1 o'clock, that is quadrant 1, and make a C. 2, 3, and 4. A coordinate is a number that corresponds to a point on a number line. An integer and its opposite, I would take 2 different things. I would take a 0 pair, or you can say it is the additive inverse. We talked about inverse being that opposite operation. All positive and negative whole numbers belong to a set called integers. A dot placed at a point on an ordered pair is the coordinate, so we can have a coordinate on a number line, but we can also have a coordinate on a graph, that XY coordinate. The absolute value is the distance a number is from 0. We also talked about absolute value, applying it. So negative 31 is 31 spaces from 0. Remember that absolute value is always a positive number. It does not have a direction. So if we're going to solve this, I'm going to go ahead and, it's like parentheses, we're going to do that first. 2 minus 6 is a negative 4, and then negative 4 is 4 spaces from 0. This one we talked about in class, it was a little bit tricky. 29 minus 17 is 12. Well, the absolute value of 12 is 12, but we have this negative in front, which is going to make it negative. Here we have 2 absolute values. The absolute value of 7 is 7, and the absolute value of negative 19 is 19. This minus came from right here. So we're going to solve that, and then we'll take the absolute value of that answer. A 7 and a negative 19 is a negative 12, and the absolute value of negative 12 is positive 12. We talked about less than and greater than. So remember, less than looks like your left hand, and it makes an L. So 9 is greater than negative 9. All positives are greater than the negatives. But when we have negative numbers, remember they're backwards. So normally, we would say 21 is greater than 12. But because it's a negative, now it is less than negative 12. Same thing with negative 43 and negative 34. Negative 43 is further to the right on the number line, meaning it is less than negative 34. And negative 2 is less than 0. But I changed this. We talked about this in class. I used the wrong vocabulary word, and you were great about letting me know that. This should have said rational numbers in order from least to greatest. He said negative 6 3/4, which is negative 6.75. So $6.75. If you owe that to someone, that is going to be further to the left than a negative 6.7, which you could put to 0. And then we had negative 4 3/10, positive 3 and 3 4/10. Computation skills, we talked about circles in class. This is a positive 18 and a negative 25. These are different, so we need to subtract our numbers. 25 minus 18, make sure you borrow correctly, is 7. But I have more negatives, so it's going to be a negative 7. So remember to ask yourself those questions. Are they the same or different? Are you going to add or subtract? And then what sign do you have more? So this one we have signs are the same, so we're going to add them. 23 and 13 is 36, and the sign that we have more of happens to be they're both the same, so it's a negative 36. Here we had multiple things happening. We talked about double negatives. Two negatives next to each other becomes a positive. So I have a positive 7D, a negative 13D, and a positive 14D. So now I can just go down the line because order of operations says in order left to right for add, subtract. These are different, so I'm going to subtract them. I have more negatives, and now I can bring my 14 down. These are also different, so I'm going to subtract them. I have more positives, so it's going to be a positive 8, and don't forget to add your letter at the end. On the next page, we had some more operations going on. These are the same. We said if they're the same, we're going to add. 33 and 3 is 36. The sign that we have more of is negative. A negative 12 and a positive 5. Now these are different. So we're going to subtract. 12 minus 5 is 7. And I have more negatives. Some of you forgot the negative on this when we talked about it in class today, so make sure you're checking that sign. Here I have a positive 14 and a negative 45. They are different. We're going to subtract. 31, I have more negatives. So make sure again that you're watching that. Focus that a little better. Sorry if it's blurry. Now this is multiplying. We said when you multiply the numbers like normal. 9 times 7 is 63. A negative times a positive is a negative. If you want to look at your triangle of awesomeness that we talked about in our notes, we can see a positive times a negative leaves us negative. And then just put your letter on the end. Here we have multiple things, so we're going to do 2 at a time. 42 times 6 is 252, and it's a positive times a negative, so again a negative. And we're going to do that times a negative 1c. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. So positive 252, don't forget the c. 15 times 5 is 75. A negative times a positive is a negative. 5 times 13 is 65. A negative times a negative is a positive. Here we have multiple things happening again, so always 2 at a time. 6 times 25 is 150. I'm going to put my H there, and then I can say a negative times a negative is a positive. Don't forget that negative 2G. 2 times 150 is 300. You can put my letters, you can write HG or GH. And a positive times a negative makes us a negative. When we divide, same concept. 4 into 88. If you're not sure, most of you did that in your head. It's 22. And again, a negative and a positive when we're dividing means that we're going to have a negative answer. Don't forget your letter. 29. 11 goes into 99 9 times. Guys, this x to the third, we're not doing anything with this exponent. That's just the variable. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 30 was special, we said. There was a trick right here. We said anything divided by itself is 1. So, this really, nothing's going to happen here. 10 goes into 770 times. Negative divided by negative is a positive. This is just m, because when we have n over n, it's 1. I could say this times 1, but we're going to get the same thing. The next two numbers in the integer pattern, we said this was subtracting 3, and then we added 5, and then we subtracted 7. It was the odd numbers. So then we added 9 and got a positive 5, and then we need to subtract 11, and we got a negative 6. I was super proud of your ability on 32. If it's 20 degrees with a 30-mile-an-hour wind chill, it feels like it's 38 degrees colder. Colder meaning this is less than. It's going to go down. So this is 20 degrees minus 38 degrees. They were different. So we subtracted. And we had more negatives. So make sure you put a unit in there. Have a great night. Let me know if you need anything.